Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is March 7th and this is my weekly shop update. So big thank you to everyone who came up to me and introduced yourself to me at the Woodworking Shows this past Saturday in St. Paul. That was a lot of fun to be there, walking around, checking out the seminars, checking out the tools that were there for sale and the demos and all that stuff. But really with the shows, it's all about meeting people, and of course that is a lot of fun. So thank you everyone. It was great meeting you there. I also stopped by the new woodworking making space or community workshop here in Minneapolis, a MPLS Make. It's a really awesome shop. I think it's like 3,500 square feet. They have pretty much every tool you would need there as far as large tools go. So they have a big bandsaw, planer jointer, drum sander, like everything you would need. If you're in the Minneapolis area, check out that space. It is pretty sweet, and the guys there that run it are just awesome. It was great meeting you all there at your open house this past Saturday. Tons of fun. So if you missed last week, I do have t-shirts and hats available now, although I did greatly underestimate the demand for the shirts. So I am just about totally sold out of the logo shirts. I have 2 smalls and 1 medium left, and then in the fro shirts, I have most sizes still available, but only a few of each. I did reorder some more shirts today, so they should be back in maybe in 2 weeks or so. So with that out of the way, if you want a shirt, check those out. If you want another one that I don't have, you have to wait, I guess. But let's get into some viewer projects. This first project is from Ben. This is a really sweet end grain footstool made out of scraps. It's made from Adigbo, European oak, English oak, and American ash leftovers. So it's a great scrap wood project. This is a really cool design. Great work on this one, Ben. This next project comes from Gerrit. This is a occasional table made from almond wood and recycled drum kit parts. This is a really cool idea and a really awesome way to mix a couple different things together. The way that Gerrit was able to integrate the drum parts with the slab, it's a really definitely unique look to this thing. Gerrit has a YouTube channel. He also has a video on the making of this table, so check that out as well. Great stuff over there with Gerrit. This next project comes from Kirk. This is a rustic walnut wardrobe. I love this thing. This is incredible. Kirk said this wardrobe was made from walnut that came from a purchase of about 300 board feet of 60-year-old air-dried walnut, which was in really rough shape. He said the intent of the project was to maintain as much of the rough face, saw marks, wormholes, and defects as possible and bring that all together to make a really nice piece of fine furniture. I really like this piece because it really does have a rustic feel, but it definitely has a fine furniture look of construction. So like the gaps around the doors are all nice and even, the joinery is nice and tight, and it just looks really cool. This is something I could see myself building personally because I really do like that look. And this is a really well executed piece, so great job on that, Kirk. This last project comes from Anthony. This is a full-length mirror jewelry box. So projects like these are exactly why I love being a woodworker and being able to make my own things, because you can make whatever you want. The idea that, hey, I want to combine these two things, I want to combine a full-length mirror and a jewelry box into one thing, is a really powerful thing that we can do as woodworkers. So Anthony said that his wife originally asked him to build a full-length mirror, but he also wanted to build her a jewelry box, so he decided to combine the two of them. The mirror jewelry box is made from mahogany and features dovetails and miters in the construction. It also has an interior mirror so that his wife doesn't have to close the door with the mirror in it to look in a mirror. And probably the coolest thing about Anthony is he lives in Bermuda and he has probably the best view from his workbench. That looks awesome. So thanks for sharing that, Anthony. Thanks for all of the encouragement and awesome comments that you've left on my channel over the last however long it's been. You've been here for a while. Thanks, Anthony. So in the shop this week, I finally got started on my trim. I got started on the baseboards for the TV room where I have my wood floors. So let me show you what went into making the trim or the baseboards so far. So I had actually selected and planed down all the stock for these baseboards back in December, and they've just been sitting in my shop, you know, hanging out waiting for me to get to this project. So the first thing I had to do was edge joint all these boards, and as you can see, it's kind of difficult to work with these long boards in my shop. So with the jointer, I have to pull it out so it is in front of the table saw and the assembly table there, and I also have to have the doors open. And the weather this weekend was absolutely gorgeous, so it was great to have the doors open for the first time and let some fresh air into the shop. So my table saw only has 8 feet of in-feet space. That's the distance from the front of my blade to the wall behind my saw. So these boards are like 9.5 feet long. So instead of trying to move my table saw out of the way and open up some space there, I just ran all these boards through my planer vertically, which worked out really well. And even here though, I did have a little bit of tight space issues. There is not a whole lot of space to get these things in there, and I was just at the very maximum amount of length I could do here. I really had to like maneuver these things around to get them started in the planer. Now, one of the things about running things vertically like this is the risk of them tipping over, but with this size planer and I was taking a 1/4 inch pass, there's so much pressure from those rollers pushing down on these boards, I couldn't even tip them over if I wanted to. And actually I tried that. I tried pushing on the boards. I couldn't move them. I couldn't tip them over at all. So I felt really comfortable doing this. So once I got them all planed down to their final width, I could start running the profile on them. I made the first pass pretty deep, just kind of a roughing pass, and then I made 2 more passes to finalize the profile to its final depth. And the finish turned out really nicely. I didn't have a whole lot of issues with chip out or tear out on the profile itself, even when going against the grain, so this worked out really well. So here is one of the moldings all profiled, and at this point I'm waiting for this epoxy to fully cure. I went ahead and I filled any cracks or voids or defects or anything with this epoxy, and then I can sand all of this nice and smooth. I'll sand the flat section here with my orbital sander, and then the profile I'll sand by hand, but luckily I don't have to do too much. I have like 8 of these, 10 of these, maybe somewhere in there, 80 feet of molding. So it shouldn't be too bad to do by hand, but you know, sanding. I also made these 5.5 inches tall, and I want my final height to be 5 inches. I left a 1/2 inch of scribe height so I can scribe all my baseboards to the floorboards in that room. I know I did try and get that floor to be a little more level, but I know it's a little wavy. So I don't want to use a shoe molding on this. I want this to be just the baseboards against the floor. So I'm going to scribe all of my baseboards to the floorboards for a nice tight seam along the floor line. So that should be a very fun install. It's going to be another one of those tedious things. If you're new to the channel, I do a lot of things that are very tedious. So I'll finish sanding these things up this week. I'll pre-finish them, and then I can start installing them sometime. Whenever I want to, I guess, or whenever my wife wants me to, which is probably right away. So I think that's about it for this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I appreciate those, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.